Greetings and welcome to another fashionably late review here at Words About Games. Amy here, and today I want to talk to you all about Norco. First of all, I'll give out some general information about the game. Norco is a narrative adventure game developed by Geography of Robots and published by Raw Fury, and was released on March 24th, 2022 on PC via Steam, GOG, and the Xbox Store, and is also currently available in Game Pass. According to the game's store description, Norco is a southern gothic point-and-click narrative adventure that immerses the player in the sinking suburbs and verdant industrial swamps of a distorted South Louisiana. So I'm going to be starting with my general thoughts on the game before diving in to talk about the game in depth. I'm going to keep this review as spoiler-free as I possibly can, but given that Norco is an adventure game that's almost entirely driven by its narrative, I will undoubtedly be discussing some minor plot points from the game at some point. The game also comes with a content warning for a depiction of suicide, which I won't be showing or discussing in this video, but I thought it's best to mention up top in case you do end up thinking about downloading the game for yourself. So Norco is a game that first came to my attention last summer, where it was part of the inaugural Tribeca Games Festival, and it also won the very first Tribeca Game Award for, quote, its potential for excellence in art and storytelling through design, artistic mastery, and highly immersive worlds, end quote, which was voted on by a panel that included Reggie Fils-Aimé, Hades art director Gen Z, Elijah Wood, Neil Blomkamp, and more. So, I mean, yeah, that'll definitely put a game on my radar. In Norco, you play as Kay, a young woman who's returned home to the titular town following the death of her mother from cancer. The world of the game, to put it one way, sucks ass. Norco is set in an undefined future time, a world of grime and hopelessness that is equal parts Southern Gothic, science fiction, and magical realism. It's a game which holds a mirror up to our society, highlights the ways in which we're destroying ourselves without pulling any of its punches. The game feels post-apocalyptic right from the outset, with Kay's backstory littered with references to a nomadic lifestyle, fighting in militias, and collapsing infrastructure. An America that, if it hasn't already completely fallen apart, resembles a burnt-out husk going through the motions of life. Returning to Norco, Kay finds that her mother, Catherine, has passed away and her brother, Blake, has seemingly gone missing. She finds her mother's faithful security robot Millions and a roll-stuffed toy monkey at her childhood home, and together they embark on a weird, harrowing, sometimes hilarious trip across the Louisiana swamp to find Blake, unraveling a much deeper mystery in the process. Norco actually tells two intertwining stories, that of Kay, but also of her mother Catherine. The game switches back and forth between the quote-unquote present day and flashing back to the period of time just before Catherine's death. In both, you navigate a town utterly destroyed by S.H.I.E.L.D., the builders of the chemical plant that dominates the small town of Norco, and in no way is a stand-in for a real-world company. At all. The game uses this dual perspective to weave a fantastic tale out of uncovering the mystery at its heart, with fantastic pacing and many genuinely shocking twists and turns, all of which are earned by the incredibly deeply drawn characters, well-plotted narrative, and just excellent writing. But Norco also uses these perspective switches to go deeper than that. Just as you think you've gotten a handle on the strained relationship between Kay and Catherine, you're sent back to a few weeks before the latter's death and shown the world from her perspective. It's quietly heartbreaking watching these dual narratives unfold side by side, knowing that no matter what, and no matter how much your understanding of this mother-daughter relationship deepens, Catherine will still pass away before she ever sees her daughter again. There were definitely some tears shed during one particular late game moment. The character writing in Norco is exemplary. This is a game that digs deep into its own themes. The town of Norco isn't dying, it's already dead, utterly destroyed by capitalistic greed and environmental vandalism, and it pulls no punches in its sharp critique of the societal sickness that has led to the town's self-destruction. There's a hopelessness that pervades the town of Norco. The people who have been left to pick through the remains don't really have anything left, trodden into the dirt by a faceless corporation who doesn't care about the people of the town, just so long as they can profit from whatever they can and discard what they can't. You can feel the justified raging despair at the very real-world problems the game is sharply critiquing radiate from every pore of Norco's very being. This is communicated by every facet of the game. Norco's pixel art is absolutely gorgeous. You'll visit a plethora of different locations, and each one is bursting with personality and oozing atmosphere, from the vibrant decay of New Orleans' French Quarter to the grimy and devastated streets of Norco itself. Every screen tells a story without its characters even needing to utter a single word of dialogue. This isn't a world where people are on the brink, it's a world where it's already too late, and the characters you meet are simply trying to deal with this as best as they can, whether that's by joining a cult based out of an abandoned mall, drowning their sorrows at the local tavern, or watching the world go by while pooping on a toilet in their office that also happens to be next to the window. This is a community that's already been destroyed, and whoever's left is picking over the last few scraps that remain, trying to get by as best they can with the precious little that's been left for them. And for all the heavy themes of capitalist destruction, or the overarching mystery that gets more and more fantastical as the game progresses, this is a story driven by a deep roster of incredibly well-written characters. While Kay and Catherine are mostly ever present throughout the game as its dual protagonists, there are many, many other characters who accompany them, or they'll simply meet and interact with on their travels, and all of them will make some kind of impact. Norco tells its story through its characters and gives its cast room to breathe. Even the most minor characters who exist for even just a single scene, or maybe even only a single line of dialogue, can have a memorable impact, and you can make more than a few very worthwhile detours to learn a lot about these people that gives Norco's world and story a texture and depth that few games can match. Whether it's a main character who loves Christmas more than most people, or a minor character who has a mishap after eating a hot dog. It's at this point definitely worth mentioning that while Norco is definitely a serious game with bleak storytelling intentions, it can also be an incredibly funny and heartwarming one, usually at the most unexpected times. You'll form connections to a lot of these characters that really makes you empathize with them. Heck, I even came around on characters that annoyed me during my first encounters with them. Even the quote-unquote mole Nazis, as they're referred to by multiple characters throughout the game, are given depth and due consideration, though I didn't really come around on them. There's a reason they're called mole Nazis, after all, but I did understand them and how they came to be a lot better by the game's end. To help you keep track of all this, you have the mind map, a gameplay mechanic that functions a little bit like a journal. As you learn more about the various major and minor characters, organizations, and general things in Norco, Kay will keep track of it all for you in the mind map, which lets you understand the motivations of everyone and everything around you, and also doubles as a good way to keep track of the densely packed narrative in case you ever get a little bit lost. There's a smattering of other gameplay mechanics, some combat here, a few puzzles there, a couple of QTEs. Norco isn't afraid to mix up its gameplay, deviating from the more standard mechanics of a point-and-click adventure at key moments. I don't want to go into too much depth about how Norco changes things up, because the surprise is part of the fun, but these gameplay diversions break things up nicely, are pretty well thought out, and apart from one late game gauntlet, never actually outstay their welcome. And that's Norco. Well, some of it. The rest you'll have to see for yourself. There's so much fantastic stuff packed into this game, I can scarcely believe I only played it for 5 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Norco is a game I was eagerly anticipating and had a lot of excitement for before its release, and it still managed to blow me away and surpass all of my expectations. Everything about this game, from its writing, narrative, characters, world building, art style, music, and gameplay, felt genuinely incredible, and I know for a fact that, when it comes time to look back on the games of 2022, Norco is easily going to rank as one of my favourite experiences. And I think as far as final thoughts go, that's as good a place as any to leave things off. Well, that's it for this review. What did you think of the game? Did you like it? Are you in the middle? Or was it just not for you? Leave a comment down below. You know where the comments are on YouTube. Or hit me up on Twitter. All the info's in the description. I'm going to get out of here because I've got so many more games to play. And there's just not enough time in the day. So I will see you next time.